Section 1. The faithful who feel overlooked. There is a different kind of struggle, not the struggle of being lost, not the struggle of turning away, but the quiet struggle of staying, of remaining consistent, of choosing what is right again and again, even when no one is watching. You stayed disciplined. You stayed obedient. You stayed consistent in your walk with God. You showed up. You resisted what was easy. You chose what was right, even when it was difficult. And yet, it can feel like no one notices. No celebration, no recognition, no moment where someone stops and says, "I see what you've been doing. I see your effort. I see your faithfulness." Instead, life just continues, quietly, without acknowledgement. And in that silence, something begins to form in the heart. Not loudly, not all at once, but slowly. A thought begins to rise. Does my faithfulness even matter? Is any of this being seen? Am I doing all of this for nothing? And that thought can feel confusing because you are not doing anything wrong. You are doing what is right. But the lack of recognition can make it feel like your effort is invisible. And sometimes that invisibility can become heavy, because we all desire to be seen, to be acknowledged, to know that what we are doing matters. But tonight, if you feel overlooked, if your faithfulness feels unnoticed, remember this: just because people do not see it does not mean it is unseen. God sees every moment, every decision, every quiet act of obedience. Every time you chose what was right when it would have been easier not to. Nothing is missed. Nothing is ignored. Nothing is wasted. Even when it feels like no one notices, your faithfulness still matters, and it is still seen by the one who matters most. Section 2. The older brother's response. When the prodigal son returned home, something unexpected happened. The father celebrated. He welcomed him back with joy, with compassion, with open arms. There was music, there was celebration, there was recognition of his return. But not everyone shared that joy. The older brother responded differently. He was angry and would not go in. Luke 15:28. He stayed outside, distanced, unwilling to join the celebration. And when you look deeper, his response begins to make sense. Because he had stayed, he had not left, he had not wandered, he had remained, he had worked day after day, quietly, consistently. He had obeyed, followed instructions, done what was expected. He had been faithful. And yet, in that moment, it felt like someone else was receiving the attention. Someone who had left, someone who had failed, someone who had returned after making mistakes. And that created tension within him, a quiet frustration, a sense that something was unfair. Because from his perspective, his faithfulness had not been recognized in the same way. And sometimes we can find ourselves in that same position. Not lost, not far away, but faithful, consistent, doing what is right. And yet, watching others receive attention, watching others be celebrated, watching others be recognized, and something within us begins to react. Not always outwardly, not always obviously, but internally. A quiet resistance, a subtle frustration, a question that begins to form. What about me? Does my consistency not matter? Why does it feel like I am being overlooked? And in that moment, it is easy to shift focus from faithfulness to comparison, from obedience to frustration, from quiet trust to inner tension. But this moment reveals something important. Faithfulness can still be tested, not only through difficulty, but through how we respond when others are celebrated. Tonight, if you recognize that feeling, if you have felt that quiet tension, do not ignore it. But do not let it lead you away from the heart God is shaping within you. Because even in this, God is working, refining, teaching, drawing your heart back to the right place. Section 3. I've always been here. The older brother finally spoke, and his words revealed his heart. Lo, these many years do I serve thee. In other words, I've been here the whole time. I didn't leave. I didn't walk away. I stayed. I did what was right. I showed up day after day. I remained faithful. And yet, it felt like none of it was being recognized. It felt like his consistency had gone unnoticed, like his obedience had not been acknowledged, like his faithfulness had not been celebrated. And underneath his words was a deeper feeling, a quiet frustration, a sense that what he had done did not seem to matter in the way he expected. And this emotion is real. It is not loud, it is not always expressed openly, but it exists, especially in those who have been consistent, those who have stayed, those who have chosen what is right again and again. Because there are moments when faithfulness feels invisible, when obedience feels unnoticed, when doing the right thing does not seem to bring any visible reward. And in those moments, a quiet question can begin to rise. Does this even matter? Is anyone seeing this? Was all of this worth it? And that feeling can be difficult, because it is not about wanting attention in the wrong way. It is about wanting to feel seen, to know that your consistency has value, to know that your effort is not being overlooked. Tonight, if you have ever felt like this, acknowledge it. Do not ignore it. Do not push it away, because it is a real emotion. But also remember this: just because it feels unseen does not mean it is unnoticed. God sees every moment you have stayed, every moment you have chosen what is right, every moment you have remained faithful. And your consistency has never been without value. Even if it has been quiet, even if it has been unseen by others, it still matters, and it is still seen by God. Section 4. The danger of comparison in faithfulness. Jealousy does not always come from lack. It does not always begin because something is missing. Sometimes it comes from comparison, a quiet comparison, an internal comparison, not always spoken, not always obvious, but present. You begin to compare your consistency to someone else's restoration, your discipline to someone else's celebration, your quiet faithfulness to someone else's visible moment. And in that comparison, something begins to shift, because it can feel like your effort is less valued, like your consistency is less important, like your obedience is less noticed. But this is where perspective matters, because you are comparing two different journeys, two different stories, two different seasons. And those things are not meant to be measured against each other. Your journey is not their journey. Your path is not their path. Your process is not their process. God is not writing a single story for everyone. He is writing a unique story for each person. And because of that, what He does in someone else's life will not look the same as what He is doing in yours. Comparison distorts that truth. It makes you feel like you are behind, like you are overlooked, like your journey is less meaningful. But God is not measuring you against someone else's story. He is not comparing your progress to their progress. He is not evaluating your faithfulness based on what someone else receives. He sees you individually, personally, completely. Tonight, if comparison has been creeping in, pause, recognize it, and gently release it. Because comparison will always create unnecessary tension. But when you let it go, peace returns, clarity returns, focus returns, and you are able to walk your path without distraction. Because your story still matters, your faithfulness still matters, and what God is doing in your life does not need to look like anyone else's to be valuable. Stay focused, stay grounded, and trust the path God has given you. Section 5. The Father's response changes everything. The Father responded with words that changed everything. Not with correction first, not with accusation, but with reassurance. Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. Luke 15:31. In that moment, he revealed something deeper, something the older brother had overlooked. He said, "You were never forgotten. You were never overlooked. You were always close." While the other son had to return, you never left. While the other son had to find his way back, you were already here, already near, already in relationship. And that changes the perspective. Because the older brother was focused on what he did not receive, the celebration, the recognition, the visible moment. But the father redirected his attention to what he already had: presence, closeness, relationship, access. He was not distant. He was not outside. He was not trying to find his way back. He was already with the Father. And everything the Father had was already available to him. Sometimes we can miss this truth. We can focus on what others receive, what others experience, what others are given. And in doing so, we overlook what we already have. But closeness with God is not a small thing. It is not secondary. It is not less valuable than recognition. It is the greatest reward. To be near Him, to walk with Him, to remain in His presence. That is not something to overlook. That is something to treasure. Tonight, if you have felt overlooked, if you have felt like your faithfulness has not been recognized, remember this: you are not distant. You are not forgotten. You are not unseen. You are close. You have relationship. You have access. And what God has for you has not been taken away. While others may be returning, you never left. And that is something to be grateful for. Section 6. God sees your faithfulness. Just because your obedience is not publicly celebrated does not mean it is unnoticed. Just because there is no applause, no recognition, no visible reward, does not mean your faithfulness has no value. Because God sees. He sees what others overlook. He sees what is done in quiet places. He sees what happens when no one else is watching. He sees every quiet prayer, the ones spoken softly, the ones spoken when you felt tired, the ones spoken when you could have chosen not to pray, but you did anyway. He sees every disciplined decision, every moment you chose what was right, even when it was difficult, even when it required sacrifice, even when it went unnoticed by others. He sees every moment you resisted what was easy, every moment you stayed consistent, every moment you remained faithful. None of it is ignored. None of it is forgotten. Faithfulness does not always receive applause on earth. It does not always come with recognition. It does not always bring immediate reward. But it is always acknowledged in heaven. Always. Because God's perspective is different. He does not measure value by visibility. He measures it by faithfulness, by the condition of your heart, by the consistency of your walk with Him. Tonight, if you feel unseen, be reminded of this truth. God sees you, completely, clearly. Every moment you chose Him, every moment you stayed, every moment you were faithful. And nothing you have done in obedience to Him has ever been wasted. It matters. It always has, and it always will. Section 7. Do not let bitterness enter a faithful heart. There is a quiet danger that can develop even in faithful people, not outwardly, not visibly, but internally. It is possible to keep doing the right thing while something inside begins to change. The actions remain consistent, the discipline remains in place, the obedience continues, but the heart begins to carry something heavier. Because over time, frustration can settle in, resentment can begin to grow, a quiet bitterness can form beneath the surface. Not because you stopped being faithful, but because your faithfulness began to feel unseen, unrecognized, unappreciated. And this is where the danger lies. Doing the right thing with the wrong heart. Obedience mixed with resentment. Faithfulness mixed with frustration. Consistency that is no longer flowing from love, but from pressure. And when that happens, something within becomes misaligned. Because God cares not only about what you do, but how your heart remains. He is not only looking at your actions, He is looking at your posture, your motives, your inner condition. Because a faithful life is not only about external consistency, it is about internal purity. A heart that remains soft, a heart that remains grateful, a heart that remains aligned with God's love. That is what must be protected. Tonight, if you sense any frustration, any quiet resentment, any feeling that has begun to harden your heart, pause. Do not ignore it. Do not let it grow. Bring it to God, honestly, openly, because He is able to restore what has shifted, to soften what has hardened, to realign what has become out of place. Protect your heart, not by pretending everything is fine, but by allowing God to keep it clean, soft, and aligned. Because a faithful heart that remains pure will always go further than one that quietly carries bitterness. Stay faithful and stay soft. Section 8. Celebrate others without losing yourself. When someone returns to God, heaven celebrates. There is joy, there is restoration, there is recognition of what has been found again. And this is something beautiful, something to honor, something to be grateful for. And we are called to celebrate it too, to rejoice when someone comes back, to acknowledge what God is doing in their life. But sometimes that celebration can feel difficult, not because you do not care, not because you do not want to be happy for them, but because of what is happening within you. Because while they are being celebrated, you have been consistent, you have stayed, you have remained faithful, and it can feel like their moment is being seen while yours is still quiet. And in that tension, it is important to remember this: their restoration does not diminish your faithfulness. Their celebration does not reduce your value. What God is doing in their life does not take away from what He is doing in yours. There is room for both. Room to celebrate the one who has returned, and room to honor the one who has remained. Room for joy in restoration, and room for value in consistency. Because God is not limited. His love does not run out. His attention is not divided in a way that leaves you unseen. He sees both, the one who came back and the one who never left. And both matter to Him. Tonight, if you find it difficult to celebrate others, pause. Realign your heart, not by forcing emotion, but by remembering truth. God is not choosing between you. He is working in both of you. And your faithfulness still holds value, still holds weight, still holds purpose. So celebrate, without losing yourself, without questioning your worth, without comparing your journey. Because God's love is wide enough to fully see and value you both. Section 9. You are not forgotten. You may not always feel seen. There may be moments where your effort feels unnoticed, where your consistency feels quiet, where your faithfulness feels like it is happening in the background. But even in those moments, you are known, completely, personally, deeply. God sees beyond what is visible, beyond what others notice. He sees your heart, your intention, your consistency. You may not always feel celebrated, There may not be a moment of recognition, no visible reward, no outward acknowledgement. But even then, you are valued. Not based on attention, not based on visibility, but based on who you are to God. Because your worth has never depended on who notices you. It has always been rooted in who knows you. And God knows you fully. Nothing about your journey is hidden from Him. Nothing about your faithfulness has been overlooked. Just because attention is sometimes placed on the one who returned does not mean you have been forgotten. The shepherd rejoices over the one who is found. There is joy in restoration, but He never forgets the ones who stayed. He does not overlook the ones who remained. He does not ignore the ones who were consistent. He holds both with equal care, equal attention, equal love. Tonight, if you feel overlooked, if your faithfulness feels unseen, let this truth settle in your heart. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not invisible. You are known. You are valued. You are seen by the one who matters most. And that is enough. Section 10. Reflection. What is in your heart? Take a quiet moment and ask yourself gently, what is in my heart right now? Not what you think should be there, not what you feel you are expected to say, but what is actually there. Have I felt overlooked? Has there been a quiet feeling that my effort has not been seen? A sense that my faithfulness has gone unnoticed? Have I compared my journey to others, measured my consistency against someone else's moment, looked at what they received and questioned what I have not? Has frustration entered my heart? Not loudly, not outwardly, but quietly, a subtle tension, a feeling that something is not fair. As you reflect, do not judge yourself. Do not rush to correct it. Simply become aware, because honesty is the beginning of healing. God is not asking you to hide these feelings. He is not asking you to pretend everything is fine. He already sees what is there, completely, clearly. And He does not reject honesty. He welcomes it. He invites it. Because what is brought into His presence can be healed. What is acknowledged can be restored. What is surrendered can be transformed. So take a moment now and bring it to Him. The feeling of being overlooked, the comparison, the frustration. Place it honestly before God. You do not need perfect words. You only need a willing heart. Because God does not reject what you bring to Him. He heals it, gently, patiently, completely. Section 11. Closing Prayer. Father, you see what is hidden within our hearts, the thoughts we do not always speak, the emotions we do not always understand. And tonight, we bring all of it before you. Guard our hearts from quiet jealousy, from comparison that slowly shifts our focus, from thoughts that make us question our value. Keep our hearts pure in our faithfulness, not only in what we do, but in how we do it. Let our obedience come from love, not pressure, not frustration, not the need to be seen. When we feel unseen, remind us that you see everything, every quiet moment, every faithful decision, every step we have taken in obedience to you. Let that truth settle deeply within us. When others are celebrated, help us celebrate with them, genuinely, freely, without comparison, without losing our sense of worth. Remind us that what you are doing in their life does not take away from what you are doing in ours. And tonight, remind us again that we are not forgotten, not overlooked, not unseen. We are known, we are valued, we are held in your presence. We are always with you, and that is enough. So we rest in that truth. We release every burden, and we trust that you are with us in every step of this journey. Amen.